Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Introduction to Assistive Equipment for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And I'm Amy Dahlman with Dancing Sky Area Agency on Aging. And we are one of 7 area agencies on aging in the state of Minnesota. And we cover 21 counties in Northwest and West Central Minnesota. And we do all kinds of services and supports. One of our biggest ones is the Senior Linkage Line. But today we're focusing on another thing that we do, and that's to offer community education and information. And we do so in the form of monthly webinars. And so this month we are partnering with Jeannie and Ellen, and both are from the Minnesota Department of Human Services Deaf and Hard of Hearing Division. And so we welcome them both. And I will mute and let the two of you take it away. I do want to mention, though, if you can hold your questions until the end, we will have a time for question and answer. But if you're like me and you're worried you're going to forget those questions, feel free to put them in the chat and then we will cover them at the end. All right. Thank you, Jeannie and Ellen. Take it away.
Hi there. I'm Jeannie Colo Johnson. I am the lead specialist for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services, and I also work as a Deaf and Hard of Hearing specialist in Northwest Minnesota. Our office is in Moorhead, Minnesota, but we cover the 22, well, my particular services cover the 22 northwesternmost counties of Minnesota. I am not tied to my office. I am happy to get out and travel, so I can come visit people, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of get into the service part of our program. Ellen?
Hi, I am Ellen Archambault. I am the Telephone Equipment Distribution Program Specialist. I recently had 3 additional counties added to my region. So now I serve 25 counties on the northwest part of Minnesota. I, like Jeannie, travel to see clients in their homes wherever they may call home, and am looking forward to sharing our information with you guys today. So objectives for today's presentation will be to learn about assistive technology for people who have hearing loss, to gain information about over-the-counter hearing aids. That's a good one because lots of people have questions about that one. To learn about telecommunication equipment, and to know how to contact us here at Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services and the TED program. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Before we really start to dive into today's program about assistive technology, we want to talk a little bit about why it's important to know about assistive technology. And the other thing I want to do is quickly comment about the captions that we're providing. And also I want to thank Dancing Sky and Amy because the Dancing Sky Area Agency on Aging and Amy have been tremendous collaborators for us, and we just really greatly appreciate that. A couple of weeks ago, I reached out to Amy to ask if we would be able to caption this. And so they have been working diligently on trying to get the auto captions to work. There's also a service that is available. It's called real-time captions or CART, but those are hard to set up at this point in time just because they're very busy. It's an actual service, plus there's a cost associated with that. So today, as we were getting ready, we actually kind of stumbled across this particular auto caption. So we're giving it a try to see how it goes, and we're kind of seeing that it's pretty kind of it's very so. So if you just will kind of bear with us and be patient, Amy and her team are working hard at, in the future, putting forth better captions so that these webinars that they are putting out for all of you are more accessible for people who have hearing loss. The next thing we need to do is talk about why it's important to be familiar with assistive technology for people who have hearing loss. And when we talk about people who are moving up in years like me, we have to talk about hearing loss because 48 million Americans, 1 in 5, has a hearing loss that is actually great enough to impact their ability to communicate. And that number is getting bigger and bigger just because that number of people who are getting older is getting bigger. When you look a little bit closer at those numbers, you'll see that 20% of all people have tinnitus. That's that ringing in the ears. Some people hear waves on a beach continuously, so then it's not as relaxing. I hear a tea kettle on my right side constantly. It never goes away. My dad hears jet planes that never stop. So tinnitus can really be difficult. Hearing loss occurs in 90% of those cases when people have tinnitus. So if you yourself are experiencing some ringing in the ears or some sort of sound that actually isn't there, you should have your hearing tested. 30% of all people who are 65 to 74 have a hearing loss. And then when you go from 75 and up, half of all people have a hearing loss. When you look at people who are returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, 60% of all veterans have some kind of hearing loss and or tinnitus. So hearing loss is prevalent, it's a public health issue, and we really have to talk about ways that you can mitigate that hearing loss. And the good news is there's a lot of things that you can do about that hearing loss. Assistive technology is one of the things that you can do to address that hearing loss. And that's why Ellen and I are here today, so that we can give you some quick and easy information about technology. Our presentation today is only an hour long, so we're not going to be able to go in depth about any one thing, but we'll be able to give you some real basic information about the different kinds of technology that are out there for people with hearing loss. And that assistive technology can give people more independence and safety out in the community, in their own homes, when they're at work. There's all kinds of technology that can give people independence and safety in all kinds of environments. Prices vary. You can get some things that are dirt cheap, and you can get things that are really, really expensive. When you're looking at technology, you have to think a lot about what you need it to do. You need to think about the cost, and you need to think about the benefit. The 3 kinds of things that we're going to talk about today include personal listening devices and technology, alerting devices, and then telecommunication devices and technology. So those 3 basic categories, that's what we're hoping to talk about. The first thing that we're going to talk about are personal listening devices and technology. And this is something kind of near and dear to my heart because we all want to communicate with people. And of course, during the pandemic, that was really difficult because we had that 6-foot social distancing. And the best communication zone is 3 feet from each other. So that put us outside of that communication zone. A lot of people with hearing loss do lip or speech reading, and we all had to mask up. And so that made communication that much more difficult. But there's technology out there that can help us with communication. And personal listening devices are one of the ways that we can help ourselves. Hearing aids are expensive. Over-the-counter hearing aids are coming out. They're rolling out as we speak. There's lots of buzz out in the community, but they're still a little bit expensive. And we have a lot of people out there who have very limited budgets. What can they do? Well, there's some much less expensive personal listening devices that you can tap into. The picture on your screen right now is one of my favorites. It's a pocket talker. I have one actually right here. It has a dial that you roll up and down for volume on one side, and you roll up and down on the other side to adjust the tone or how high or low pitched a person's voice is. The microphone pops in and pops out so that you can attach it to a long cord. The microphone pops into the other end of the cord plugs into this, and then you can attach it to your TV so that you can amplify your phone, or you can hand the microphone to the person in the back seat of your car, which is a noisy environment. And then you can listen to your grandkids sitting in the back seat talking to you as you travel to buy your Christmas tree or to celebrate Hanukkah. Then you plug in a headset. And you have your listening device. There are a bunch of different kinds of assistive listening devices, though. This is the newest kind of pocket talker out there. So this is an updated version of this pocket talker here. There are also a variety of headsets. The one that I was just holding up sits on top of your head, just like your normal assistive or headset. This one goes on the back of your head. So if you can't get one to stay on, this can be a different option for you. You can also use it with earbuds. Another assistive listening device is the Comfort Duet. So if working those dials on the side is hard for you, you can use something like this where you just push the plus and the minus sign for volume up and volume down. And it's very simple. It's very small. You can just clip it to your pocket. It's really easy to use. So there are all kinds of options out there available to use for personal listening devices. Another thing that we talk about with people is listening to the television. That can cause all kinds of grief between people who are married. And there are devices out there to listen to the TV so that you don't have to turn the volume up and drive your spouse into a different room or a different floor of your house. So that's another technology that you can always check into. Another thing you have to think about or might want to consider is getting hearing aids, because untreated hearing loss has all kinds of implications that we don't have time to get into today, but I would love to spend all kinds of time talking with you about. And one of the biggest things that people are talking about right now is the over-the-counter hearing aids. So when you talk about over-the-counter hearing aids, you need to think about what the differences are between over-the-counter hearing aids and more traditional hearing aids. So over-the-counter hearing aids were just, the law was passed and they just were to become available mid-October. They are starting to roll out and they're available or will be available in places like Best Buy, pharmacies, other retailers like that. They are designed for mild to moderate hearing loss, not for severe hearing loss, not for complex types of hearing loss. They are available without a hearing test or without fitting by a hearing dispenser. They're expected to cost substantially less than regular hearing aids, and they can be adjusted by you, the person using the hearing aids. Traditional hearing aids are for severe hearing loss, for more complex hearing loss. They're ordered by a hearing care professional who tests your hearing, and then they are fitted specifically to your hearing loss. So just like eyeglasses, my glasses are prescription glasses. They are fit specifically to my vision loss. Hearing aids that are traditional are fit specifically to my hearing loss. So for example, I don't hear certain consonant sounds My hearing aids boost those specific sounds. Over-the-counter hearing aids are going to boost just everything. And the price will include for regular hearing aids, the cost of the hearing aid, the professional fitting, follow-up adjustments, and troubleshooting. Over-the-counter hearing aids, you will do all of that yourself. When you think about getting over-the-counter hearing aids, you really need to think about what features those over-the-counter hearing aids have. Things like, do those over-the-counter hearing aids have different settings for the environment you're in? Can you adjust the volume? Do they have telecoils? What kind of Bluetooth connectivity have? Those are things to check between the different models. And then make sure that you're comfortable to set those hearing aids up for yourself. Do you have that technical skill set, or do you have somebody in your life who can support you in setting up those hearing aids? One of my colleagues likened over-the-counter hearing aids to going to IKEA and buying furniture. You go into IKEA, you find the furniture you want, you buy the box, you bring it home, and then you have to put it together. The same thing with these hearing aids. You buy the piece, you bring it home, you open the box, then you have to put it together and adjust it to meet your needs. It's not just a you bring it home and put it on kind of thing. Find out how much time you have to return those hearing aids if they don't work for you. That's going to be pretty key. And then also, what is the manufacturer's warranty? If something should stop working on that hearing aid, how much time do you have to send it back in to get it fixed before you have to start to pay for that? So over-the-counter hearing aids are going to bring the cost down. That's great news. Just do your homework. If you're buying traditional hearing aids, we have an excellent resource for you. And actually, it's something you can use if you're looking at buying over-the-counter hearing aids too. It's called the hearing aid checklist. And I will put it in the chat when I'm done talking, because I'm not that great of a multitasker. But it's an excellent resource, and it gives you a list of all those different things that you should think about when you're buying hearing aids. The next thing that we need to talk about is alerting technology. So what do you do if you're sleeping at night and you've taken your hearing aids off, or you're not using your handy dandy pocket talker and you can't hear, and the smoke alarm goes off? You're not going to hear it. That would be what's called an alerting device. One of the things I've heard before is a older adult living at home doing great. Their older children keep coming over to check on them because they were calling them and they weren't answering their telephone. Or the police end up coming into the apartment because neighbors were knocking on the door and they couldn't hear somebody knocking at the door. Well, the good news is there is technology out there that will alert you to those different kinds of things. The picture shows you a device. It's an alert master that is one example of that technology. Each kind of alerting technology has two parts. One is a transmitter, one is a receiver. So that black box in the back of the picture is the receiver. The little pieces in front are the transmitters. So you will see the little tan piece is a doorbell. So someone comes up to your door and rings a specific kind of doorbell that is connected to that black box. That black box is plugged into the lamp, and the lamp will flash to let you know someone is ringing that doorbell. It's also connected to the phone, so someone calls and that lamp will flash to let you know that the phone is ringing. There are other devices too that kind of work in the same way. You'll see that round disc there. That's a bed shaker. So someone rings the doorbell and it'll shake the bejeebers out of your bed, and you'll wake up and know that someone is knocking on your door. So there are different kinds of alerting technologies like that. There are alarm clocks that work the same way. I have another sample of the same kind of thing. This is just a different brand, same idea. The top part here has an incredibly bright strobe that will flash. And then each of these dots represent a different kind of alert. One is a baby cry alert, and it's called a baby cry alert, but really it alerts to any kind of noise. One is a doorbell, one is a telephone, and one is a smoke alarm. This is a doorbell again. So you put this with your doorbell, someone comes up, rings the doorbell, and this flashes very brightly. So you can set this up anywhere in your home. This is a Bellman SIM phone. This comes also with a little pocket vibrator. So if somebody rings your doorbell, this is attached to your belt and it shakes, and you would know that it was ringing. Same thing with the smoke alarm. The thing that when I meet somebody who has hearing loss that I ask about every single time is, can you hear your smoke alarm? This is a sample called the Safe Awake. Comes with the bed shaker, the strobe light. When your regular smoke detector goes off, it sends a signal to this. This is sitting next to your bed. This is under your pillow or under your mattress, and it shakes your bed to wake you up. The Red Cross actually distributes these to people with hearing loss at no cost. And the other thing that people worry about if they're caregivers for somebody who tends to wake up in the middle of the night and wander, if they need to know about that, you can get motion detecting alerts as well. So there's really all kinds of different technology out there to meet your need. And something else to be aware of is that the technology does cost money. Sometimes waivers will cover the cost of technology. Sometimes there are opportunities through your Lions Club. They might help you pay for the technology. But the other thing to be aware of is that Minnesota has a STAR program that you can borrow the technology from to see if it works. And if it does work for you, then you can make the decision about whether or not you want to spend the money. North Dakota Assistive partners with the START program for our region, and I can help connect you to those programs, and I can help you kind of troubleshoot, talk about what your needs are, talk about what your options are to help you make that decision. On the North Dakota side of the border, the North Dakota School for the Deaf outreach program or resource center will work with you, and they do an excellent job of that. And at that, I am going to turn it over to Ellen.
Hey, excuse me. So I am going to speak with you a little bit on the telecommunication for landline. I am aware that a lot of individuals are going to cellular options, so I'll go over that as well, but just wanted to start with landline phones. So there are pieces of technology out there for anyone with a mild to severe hearing loss as far as landline phones go. So your amplification for a mild hearing loss would start at about 40 decibels of volume. To give you an idea, your average just regular landline phone will max out anywhere between 18 to 20 decibels of volume. So even for a mild hearing loss, you're going to get twice the volume. And then if you're more on the severe end, that 55 decibels of volume is going to kind of fit that need a little bit more. However, what we do find is that tone adjustment is often needed more so than the extra volume. If you've ever found yourself yelling the same thing over and over again to somebody on the phone, it's likely that they're missing a word that you're saying, because when you say that word, they've either lost syllables of the word or the tone that you're saying it in. They just cannot hear it. So no matter what volume you speak at, they're not going to get that information. So what I practice with my clients is adjusting that tone, adjusting the pitch of somebody's voice, making that deeper or higher, and getting it outside of their hearing loss so that they're able to understand what's being said to them. For landlines, there are cordless phones available. There are corded phones available. And a lot of individuals now are going to caption phones. Most of the phone companies nationwide have now upgraded or are in the process of upgrading to fiber optic or cable phone lines. Because of that transition, internet is needed in order for the caption phones to work. So we are able to provide those, and how that works is there's two different ways. As you can see below, the captioning that is happening now is using a program, a voice recognition program to provide the captionings. That is an option for caption telephones as well. The next option would be to have an individual hearing the conversation and doing live caption at the time that it's happening. So there's pros and cons to both. With the voice recognition system, you're going to maybe get some more spelling errors, things of that nature, and you will not get any background noise or background information. With a live person transcribing that call, you're going to get, if the person coughs, they'll let you know that, or sneezes and you can say bless you, things of that nature. So you're not just getting the words, you're actually getting the full conversation, the full environment that's happening. So there's pros and cons to both. There are voice amplifiers. If an individual has had a stroke or hearing loss and their voice is kind of weak, there are some phones on the market that will amplify that outgoing voice for them, as well as the incoming voice. And then for some individuals, depending on dexterity needs as well, we do have phones that provide that voice dialer where they can just sit in their chair and tell the phone who to call. Without having to pick up that phone. As Jeannie said, the alerting devices, we have very loud ringers that will scare your neighbors, actually. So if an individual's in an apartment setting or close by their neighbors and maybe don't want their neighbors to hear every time their phone rings, there are the lights that we can turn on, connect it to a lamp, or plug in a light that can turn on and off when that phone is ringing so that they have a visual cue. And then there are some Bluetooth options as well for landline equipment. And so some individuals don't hear very well on their cell phone. And so we can pair that to a landline phone. And then they can use the landline phone to get the amplification, but without paying for a landline phone. We can also now do the same thing with a caption phone. If you have a cell phone and no landline, there is now an option to pair your cell phone to the caption phone without a landline, but you have that larger caption phone in your home. So that is now a new piece of technology that has come out within the last couple of months as well. Next slide, please. So as far as telecommunication for cellular devices, cell phones are going to have an M3 or M4 rating. So you're going to want to check that if you do wear hearing aids, to make sure that they are compatible. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat popped up. Make sure your cell phone that you purchase is going to have an M3 or M4 rating. That means it's going to be compatible with a hearing aid. Also check to make sure that your cell phone, I would say, make sure it has Bluetooth technology. The majority of them do now, whether it's an old flip phone or a smartphone, they all should have Bluetooth technology. But I do know that some phones from specific companies still, even though it looks like a smartphone, may not have that Bluetooth technology, but I would really strongly recommend that you make sure that it does have that. Same thing for tablets. There are Android tablets and Apple tablets. Make sure that it has that M3, M4 rating if you're going to be using that tablet as more of a phone or a video phone. And then make sure that has the Bluetooth as well. The reason that you're going to want that Bluetooth technology is there are Bluetooth amplifiers that you can pair to your current cell phone. So whether that's Android or Apple, as long as it has the Bluetooth technology, you can pair an external amplifier to that phone. That's going to give you the extra volume up to 65 decibels of volume with an external amplifier, but you're also going to have that tone adjustment. And that's often the most important part, that tone adjustment. With that Bluetooth amplifier, there's several different ways that it can connect to you. You can actually connect it directly to your hearing aids if your hearing aids are Bluetooth, or have a T-coil. I know Jeannie spoke briefly about a telecoil, but if your hearing aids have a telecoil, you can connect that amplifier directly to your hearing aids. So nobody can hear your conversation. It goes right into your hearing aids. You can have it on speakerphone, use both of your ears to hear that call. And then you can have it on handset so that you're using it like a regular phone. That is also going to have voice dialers for you. If dexterity is also an issue along with hearing loss. There are Bluetooth earpieces that you can use and iPods that you can use with your cell phones to assist you with hearing those conversations more clearly. Now, there are also neck loops or streamers that you can get. Neck loops would be if your hearing aid has T-coils in them. And Jeannie, correct me if I'm wrong, streamers are the same way, right? Yes, okay. So why would I use a streamer instead of an amplifier? So the streamer is going to connect to your hearing aids via telecoil. And then that streamer, it's kind of like a necklace. It just hangs around your neck. It's going to connect via Bluetooth to your cell phone. So then when your cell phone rings and you answer, it's just going to go right to your hearing aids, that call. So you're using the technology that you paid for in those hearing aids to really hear that call correctly or better fit for you. But the Bluetooth amplifier does help if you don't wear hearing aids and need that assistance in order to hear that call. There are several apps out there for captioning that you can actually have captioning on your cellular device. And so it's going to work just like a landline. So any incoming and outgoing calls are going to connect automatically to that captioning service. You will use the phone, but it'll be you'll actually look at the phone instead of having it up to your ears. Jeannie, can you go back to the PowerPoint, please? And then, thank you. And then you'll use that. So anything that is said to you will be written out on the screen of your cell phone for you to be able to read. And then you'll still use your voice to communicate. You'll hear that voice coming through on the call as well. But if you miss a word or didn't catch a sentence, you can then use that captioning service as a resource to be able to know what's being said and not have to ask that person to repeat themselves. You can also see here the top picture on the left. That is a cell phone alerting device. So you're going to make sure that your cell phone is on ring and vibration. The device itself uses the vibration of the phone. And then when you get a text message or somebody is calling you, that will light up and give you that visual cue as well that your cell phone is ringing. Very helpful for alarms going off or text messages coming through, phone calls coming through. Clients that take that around the house with them if they're expecting a call, just to make sure that they don't miss that. So there are alerting devices for cellular device, or alerting devices for cellular equipment as well. And same with iPads. There are some flashing devices that can be paired with those iPads as well. Alrighty, next slide, please. Okay, so at this point, we will open it up to Q&A. And here is my contact information and Jeannie's contact information. So if you've got more questions, or if you've got a situation that you would like some additional help on, feel free to reach out to us, and we would be happy to assist you with that. Amy, are there any questions for us in the chat?
Going back, I think this was during when you were talking about the alert systems. So I think this is to Jeannie. And the question was, what is the name of this one and where can a person find it? So I think she's wondering about the cost of the different alerting systems. And Jane, if that's not correct, let us know.
Yeah, I did catch that when it came up. And I think they were asking about this particular system. This one is the Bellman SIM phone. I don't know the cost right offhand, but we have information in the office, and we can also send that information out anytime. So if somebody wants to just reach out to me, one of the services that we do provide is just to send that information out. We do information and referral all the time. We don't, we're a state agency, so all of our services are at no cost. And also we don't sell technology or products. And we also don't endorse one company over another. So we'll send information about a few different places that people can look and kind of cost compare prices and things. So if you're interested in this specific system, I can send information about this. I can also send information about different alerting systems. So if they want to reach out to me, I can get that information out to them. One of the things that I wanted to share, as Ellen was talking about her cell phone and Bluetooth, is that I often use my phone as a microphone. I wear hearing aids. They're Bluetooth compatible. I pair up to my cell phone, and I have an iPhone, so it pairs directly, but Android devices, like Ellen was saying, you can pair it to your hearing aids with a streamer. And if you go into your accessibility features, there's a listen live feature that turns your phone into a microphone. And so I do it often. If I don't hear something well, I'll turn that on and put my phone next to what I want to hear, and it just sends it directly to my hearing aids. And And then the other thing I do is I turn on the notes feature and use the microphone, and it just automatically captions what I'm listening to. And the captions are better than what these captions are. So those are just a couple of tips. If you have hearing aids and if they are Bluetooth compatible, those are just a couple of tips. And of course, those are two pretty big ifs, but just something I would throw up there.
And Jane did respond that she was inquiring about the black box next to the bed.
Oh, this one right here. This is a safe awake. It's only the smoke alarm. And this you don't have to spend money on. You can contact the American Red Cross. I can get you the information and you can apply to the American Red Cross. They will send one of these to you at no cost for a person who has hearing loss. And they will also, if that person does not want a bed shaker, because this one is just a bed shaker, if they would prefer a strobe light, the Red Cross will start distributing a plug-in strobe light pretty soon.
So I have a question on the alerting devices. Is there a way to connect those to, say, like an emergency broadcast type thing? Or is it solely like linked to doorbells or, phone, thing like that? Or is there a way to connect with that emergency system?
There is a weather alert system that you can connect to. Yes. There's like a weather alert system. There's a motion detecting system. There's a baby cry alert, which you can really use for anything. So if you have, let's say you've got a bedroom door, you've got a teenager and you knock, well, not that they would necessarily open the door anyway, but you knock on the door and they can't hear it. You can use that baby alert next to the door, set it to the right sensitivity, and it'll turn the light on when you knock on the door. Or you can figure out a way to, I'm thinking about like the microwave or things like that. One of the struggles is the pill, the systems that alert you when it's time to take a pill. That is something that has not yet been solved. So if anybody has a great idea for that, I'd love to hear it.
And I'll piggyback on that. The other one that I run into a lot that we struggle with is life alert. That not being loud enough for people with hearing loss. And so oftentimes the fire department or police department will show up at someone's house because they accidentally hit it and didn't hear them speaking to them. So that's something else we're working with. There's several different agencies that kind of provide that life alert device, that alerting device. So yeah, and also I wanted to let you know too that some of those alerting devices that Jeannie showed, thinking specifically to the bed shaker, I have used that with a consumer to alert them that their phone is ringing in their recliner, because it was right by a window and the light turning on and off was not waking them because they had a lot of sun coming in through the window. So when that phone rang, we put that bed shaker in her recliner so that would wake her up when her phone is ringing. So you can get creative and use the devices in ways that they weren't technically made for, but they still work for. So it's, great that they're out there, and hopefully everyone can tap into them when they're needed.
That actually makes me think about the alarm clocks that they have. They have alarm clocks that you can plug into a lamp. You can also include the bed shaker, and then it also gets progressively louder, like loud beyond what you think is loud. And I have a teen, well, he's not a teenager anymore. He's in his first year in college, but as late as last year, he would not wake up to his alarm clock. And his dad and I were kind of beside ourselves because we were still having to wake him up to go to school. And so I bought him one of these alarm clocks, and he was so worried about the disc shaking to wake him up that it's no longer a problem for him. So it's a great solution for people who even don't have hearing loss. Just a plug too, I don't know if we have people in the audience who provide services for people who have hearing loss, but these pocket talkers or the comfort duets, they run in like the $130 to $160 price range. And they're really handy to have, so that if you happen to be meeting with somebody who has hearing loss, and sometimes that person either doesn't realize they have a hearing loss, they don't want to admit it, they can't afford to do something about it. But if you happen to be meeting with that person and you have one, you can provide it for that person, and your appointment or meeting with that person will go much more smoothly. And sometimes if that person either doesn't realize that they have a hearing loss, or they've not gotten to that point yet where they're willing to do something about it, and then they try a device like this, it kind of opens that doorway for them where they start to think about, oh my gosh, that really did something for me. And they start to think about doing something for it. And the implications for untreated hearing loss really are tremendous. Untreated hearing loss can cause things like anxiety, depression, withdrawal from social situations, cognitive overload, which contributes to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And that is scientifically proven. When communication access and hearing loss is not addressed and a person is in the hospital, the chance for that person to be readmitted into a hospital after they've been discharged within 30 days is 30% more likely. So the implications really for not treating a person's hearing loss really are tremendous.
So in talking about organizations that may be working with individuals who have hearing loss, are there any resources that either of you are aware of that an organization can like apply for funding to purchase some of these assistive devices?
Gosh, that's a hard one.
Well, I'm going to just interrupt you there, Janie. There is the TED program for any Minnesota residents, and most states, other states have a similar program. So if it's any kind of telecommunication, landline, wireless device, there is the TED program that they can apply to, and we're able to provide the equipment to them at no cost. We are income-based, but it is pretty substantial. It's very seldom that I'm denying somebody due to income. So for telecommunications, there is that option available to them. And I'll let you have the floor, Jeannie.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you talk about an agency purchasing devices, that gets more challenging. It really does. When you start talking about individuals, even that can be challenging, but sometimes individuals qualify for county services waivers. And so those waivers can be used to pay for equipment. Medical assistance will pay for hearing aids. But a lot of insurances don't cover the cost of those kinds of technologies and devices. So it really is challenging. And for organizations, often what we do is that we encourage them, if they are in the process of writing grants, to try to budget those access pieces into their grant writing process so that they can try to budget that, include that into their budgets. because providing access for the people that they're serving is kind of, it's an important piece of that process. But I'm not aware of programs that will provide equipment to organizations providing or to get that kind of equipment. It's challenging, especially in times like this. We do have information on our website that does provide just a wealth of information about communication tips that can make it easier to communicate. Things as simple as, if a person asks you to repeat something twice, don't say it again the same way, rephrase it. Because if that person is watching you say it, it will look different and sound different. So for example, do you have a quarter? Do you have 25 cents? So that will give them an opportunity to hear it in a different way. Things like, don't sit with light behind you because it puts your face in shadow, so they can't read your lips. So we have communication tips. We have just a wealth of information about how to work with people who have hearing loss. If there aren't other questions, I just encourage people, we really do look forward to getting out into the community to work with people who have hearing loss. If you have questions about technology, if you have questions about hearing aids, if you want to know how to work with your providers better, you don't know how to ask for what you need to be able to communicate better, or you don't know what you need to be able to communicate better, let us know, because that's what we're here for. That's the heart of what we do. It's what we love the best. Give us a call. You can reach us at 800-657-3663 or by email. We also text. We try to be as accessible as we can for people who have hearing loss. So we would love to hear from you. If you work for an agency who works with people who have hearing loss, we can partner with you so that you can work with them better. We can provide training at no cost. So we just would love to partner with you. And thank you so much, Amy, for inviting us to do this with you again today. We just love to work with you.
Well, thank you both so much. I always learn so much from our webinars with you, and just like you said, contacting you, emailing, I always learn something new. So I highly recommend that if you have any questions, maybe something that pops into your head after we sign off today, by all means, reach out and connect with Jeannie or Ellen.
Thanks,
Perfect.
everybody.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.